So here are the notes for Section 2, Day 2, and we're only going to do Example 4 and Example 5. So what we're doing are identifying the transformations that change the graph from the preimage to the image. So preimage means before the image. So that's actually where we're going to start. So the preimage is our starting phase, and then we're going to finish at our image. So what we have to do is list all the transformations that made the preimage into the image. So let's start off by seeing if we have a reflection. Well, if we look, both of our graphs here, they are opening up. So that means there is no reflection. So we don't need to worry about writing anything about a reflection. Okay. Now we have to think, is there a vertical stretch or shrink? Okay. So in order to know if there's a vertical stretch or shrink, you need to find the slope of both the preimage and the image. So we're going to say M equals, okay. Now for you guys, your notes, I believe either the image or preimage did not come out very well. So I've given you some key points to plot on your graph, okay. So your preimage, the points would be 1, 6, 3, 6, and then your vertex is at 2, 5. And then for your image, our vertex is -4, -2, and the other two key points are -5, 0, and -3, 0. So now let's figure out the slope. So here, we want to see basically the slope of the preimage and then of the image. So what we do is we go from our vertex, okay, and basically this is rise over run. So we're just going to count here. So it looks like we're going to go up 1 and then over 1 to our other point. So because we went up 1 over 1, right, that means our slope is 1. Okay. Now if you did that to go maybe to this point right here, once again that would be the same thing, up 1 over 1. Now notice the scale here is by halves. Okay, so don't get confused. So the scale going up and down as well as side to side is going by a half. So now figuring out the slope of our image, we do the exact same thing, okay? Now here, remember we're going to go up. So we go from -2 and then we go to 0 on our y values, okay? So that means we actually went up 2. And then we go over to our other point here and we went over 1. So that means our slope is 2, okay? So now we got to figure out, because the slopes are not the same, there is either a vertical shrink or stretch. So now we have to determine, okay, 1 times what gives us 2? Well, 1 times 2 gives us 2. So because we are multiplying our preimage, basically our slope, by 2, we call that a vertical stretch. Now, if you don't remember which one's which, a vertical stretch or shrink, look at your notes from the other day when we talked about transformations. So vertical stretch, and then we say of 2. And then our last transformation is going to be the translations. Okay, I'll do this in another color. So basically, we have to determine how we got from our vertex of 2, 5 to -4, -2. So we go sideways, okay, so we are going along the x-axis horizontally. So here we have to see, are we going to the left or are we going to the right? Well, we are going to left. So we know we have to translate left so many units. And so that's what we're going to figure out. So we translate left. Okay, let's see. So we go from 2. And then basically what we're going to is the x value of -4. So that means we went left 6. So we went from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we went left 6. Now we have to see if we shift up or down. Well, our other vertex of the image is going down. So we know we're going to translate down, but now we have to see by how many units. So that's looking at your y value. So we basically go from 5 to -4. So let's go ahead, we're going to count that. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that means we translate it down 7. And then basically, this would just be your transformation, so vertical stretch of 2, and we translate it left 6 and then down 4, down 7. And that would just be your answer. Okay, now let's get to example 5. Now the same thing. So on your notes, I believe the image did not come out very well. I'm very sorry about that. So what you're going to do is just basically plot some of these points to help you out, okay? So here are the points that you probably should look at. So for the pre-image, the points are -4, 2, and then the other key points, -2, 2. Our vertex is -3, 1. As for our image, the vertex is 1, -2. And there are 2 other key points are 0, -4, and then 2, -4. So make sure you go ahead and plot those because it's going to make finding the transformations a lot easier. So we're basically doing the exact same thing that we did the other example. We are trying to find all the transformations that change the graph from the pre-image to the image. Remember, pre-image means that's where you start, okay? So that's before your image. And then when we go to our image, that's basically where we finish. So we have to find all the transformations between here. So now what we're going to do is first think about reflections. So we look here, we have to see if both our pre-image and image are opening up. Well, here the pre-image is, but the image is actually facing down, okay? So because it's opening down, that actually means there is a reflection. So we know that our very first transformation is going to be a reflection. Now, usually when we were listing our transformation the other day, so section 1, day 1, we were comparing it to the parent function. So a lot of times we talked about it reflecting over the x-axis. But basically, all you're doing is starting at the vertex of the pre-image, and there you can actually say where it's going to be reflected. Now, basically, your vertex or your pre-image, okay, can be reflected over any line. It can be reflected over this line. We could reflect it over the x-axis if you wanted to. We could reflect it over this line at -2. There we go. So you basically can figure out what line you would like to reflect it. So basically this problem is going to have multiple answers. There is no one right answer. Okay. Now I'm going to show you one way of all the transformations. Now if you have another way, that probably is right as well. If you want to check, you can always email me to see if your transformation, if it's different from mine, if it's will work. Okay, or you can always come in before or after school to ask as well. So basically what I'm going to do is make it a little bit easier. So we're going to start from the vertex of our pre-image. So we're going to actually reflect over that line, okay? So basically if we look here, I drew a line here at our y value of 1. Now remember, this is a horizontal line. So in order to write the equation in a horizontal line, we do y equals, and then we just do the value of that y. So if we look here, this is actually the y value of 1. So that means our reflection will be y equals 1. Okay, so the line that we reflect, or basically flip our pre-image, is going to be over y equals 1. So then here we say reflection over the line of y equals 1. Okay. So now that we got a reflection, now we got to see if there's a vertical stretch or shrink or neither. Okay. Remember from the last one, we determined that by figuring out the slope. So remember, I'm going to go from my vertex to one of the 2 points that I have here. So I go from the vertex, and I'm just going to go to the right. Now, if you look, I went up 1 from I went up 1 from 1 to 2. Okay, remember rise over run. And then I went over 1 from -3 to -2. So that means if I went up 1 over 1, my slope is 1. Now to find the slope of the image, we do the exact same thing. We go from our vertex, okay? So I go to my vertex, you either can go to the left or to the right here. So thinking about rise, I go from -2 to -4. So that basically means I went down 1, 2. Okay, so I went down 2. And then here, I basically went over 1 because my first x value was 1, the second x value was 2. So basically my slope is 2 over 1, which just means my slope is 2. Now here we do not make it negative because the negative signs, whenever you write it in front of your absolute value function, all it means is that your function reflected. Okay, so our slope is just saying how much that we rose and then how much we ran. So it'll be 2 in this case. Now, just like the last time, we have to see, okay, 1 times what will give us our second slope. So here, 1 times 2 will actually give us 2 again. Okay, so because we're multiplying our pre-image by 2, that means we have a vertical stretch once again. And it's a vertical stretch by a factor or of a factor of 2. Now, if we went the opposite, okay, so we went from 2 to 1, then that's when we would say, oh, we multiplied by 1/2, and that would actually technically be a vertical shrink. So at least you now know a little bit difference. Okay, so now that we did that, now we have to figure out our translations. Now remember, when we do this, we basically go from the vertex of our pre-image to the vertex of our image. Okay, now we're going horizontally first, okay, when we translate, and then we will go vertically. Now we have to see, are we going to translate to the left or to the right? Well, in this case, our vertex of the image is to the right side, so that means we are going to go to the right here. So in this case, we have to count. So we basically go from 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, it looks like. Let's see. Let's try that again. Is it 5? So we go from basically -3, so we go 1, 2, 3, 4 over here. Good. And then we go down basically, right? Because that's where our vertex is. So here, yeah. So sorry, I said 5. It actually should be 4. So we go from -3 to -2. That's 1, 2, 3. There we go. So we translate to the right 4. And then we actually go down, as I said before. And now we're going to count. Make sure that you're counting correctly because this is going by halves. Okay, so that's our scale here. So we go 1, 2, and then it looks like 3. So we go down 3. And so this would be one way of writing your transformations from your pre-image to your image. And then basically this would be your answer. Remember, if you have any other questions, make sure you email me, or you can always come in before or after school.